Hello, I'm Andrew Huxham. I'm an arable farmer and a co-founder of Hectare Trading. And we started Hectare Trading to help farmers get better prices for their crops, and a big part of that is through access to better information. In this spirit, we want to connect farmers with the best possible expertise and for any and every question that you might have. And this is where Ask an Expert comes in. Send us your questions and we'll get them answered by an expert on the topic as quickly as we can. So, to kick things off, I have heard a lot about regenerative agriculture over the past few years. How could I and do I get started on this? Where is the best source of advice for regenerative agriculture? And is it profitable without adding a lot of extra work or requiring a lot more attention to detail that we currently already have within the business? So, over to you.
I'm the manager here at Little Rollright. We've got about 700 acres which we try and farm in as responsible a way as we possibly can. I think least of all me, but I think experts in regen ag are very few and far between, and I certainly am not one of them. But I do think that we are all of us on a journey. It's an extremely exciting time to be involved in agriculture, particularly in the United Kingdom. We should all be looking to make the best of it and try and sort of stay ahead of whatever the government's got in their box of tricks for us next. And we need to be stronger, and we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, and we need to be lateral thinkers. Yes, it is profitable on a smaller scale. But also, yes, it is harder work, and you have to accept that. Where do you start? Well, having the idea is the first step, and that's pretty good. But you need to look at your farm in the round and just work out how many times something you do on that place during the course of the following 12 months will cause someone to cut you a check. And a lot of those things are going to be stuff that you're not doing already. And one of the ways of of reducing the workload is by giving others an opportunity to use your space to create their little project, whatever it might be. And that way you do it on a profit share basis. For example, with our honey business, we certainly aren't experts on keeping bees, but I know a guy who is. And all of our hives, we set up the infrastructure for this guy to have a apiary business. He sells the honey, he keeps the bees, he does all of those good things, and he keeps half the profit. And we've got 50% of a profit line that we didn't have before. So we've got lots of little things like that, doing a little bit to enhancing our bottom line. But actually, that's not a huge amount extra work for me. But it is working for the farm. So it's trying to make the farm work for you as well as you working for it. 2 generations ago, say, the farmer would walk to the gate and say, I'm gonna plant wheat in this field this year. The end. And that's how I'm gonna make money out of this field this year. Well, you can't do that now. You have to stand at that field gate, and you have to say, again, back to my thing, how many times during the course of the next 12 months can I get someone to cut me a check for something that I do in this field? And so, first of all, it might be a peculiar shaped field, so you square away a central area, so that's an easily worked area, and all your hard little pokey corners, you put that into, if you've got it available to you, a scheme. If not, then put it into something that is attractive to your bee colonies, like borage or something like that. So that's then earning you, that's check number 1. And then what are you going to do with your worked area in the middle? Well, you're going to probably plant a cover crop because you want to fix some nitrogen in the old-fashioned way. And you're going to graze that cover crop before you drill your spring crop. And so there's another check. Your livestock is is another harvest. Then you've got your spring crop, that's another harvest. Then you've got your honey from your bees, that's another harvest. Then they've told us we've got to clear fell all this ash that we've got growing everywhere. I mean, I know it's not everywhere in the country, but certainly around here there's a lot of it. So what are you going to do with that? Well, you're going to get a guy from the village who may be retired and looking for something to do, and you're going to help him set up a little log firewood business. And so there's another check. That's before you've sold any carbon that you've sequestered in the soil or anything like that. So all of a sudden you're getting a bunch of checks that you weren't getting before just because you're being a little bit of a lateral thinker. We've evolved, and I definitely don't think you should, if you do everything at once, then you're going to choke. But I think, concentrate on one thing at a time, and then they become moving parts within the engine that is Little Rollright, and hopefully they can all run alongside each other. And if you've got lots of little things making a little bit of money, then hopefully collectively they're making enough to help you stand on your own 2 feet and not rely on others. I think if you're questioning that type of arrangement, then you're probably not for regen ag, and you should just be carrying on as you are, because if you're questioning why you're doing something and will someone else benefit from it after you've gone, then the whole idea of it is that we leave these places in a better place than they were, in a better state than they were when we find them. And whether we're tenants or managers or even owners, one time, at some point or other, that land will fall into someone else's care. And whether it's your children or your tenants or whoever it might be, that's not the question. The question is, are you doing the right thing by your land? My wife would tell you that I'm the most annoying person you've ever come across, because I spend my whole time watching YouTube videos, reading books, listening to podcasts. I'm on every WhatsApp group that you can think of, and I interact with them as well. And when I go on holiday, I go and visit regen farmers in the States or wherever. So you have to have an appetite for it, and it envelops you. And I went on a trip to the States in the spring this year. I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to do that, and I went to see some incredible places. And I visited all the farms run by all the people we've all read and heard about, and see them at Groundswell and so on. And I picked up some really good stuff, and I also picked up some really bad stuff as well. And it's not all about you. The great thing about this community is that talking to people who have been down this road, and more importantly, know where the potholes are. Most of them are really happy to share where those potholes are. They're not necessarily filling them in for you, but they're telling you there's a big one down there. You just need to be aware of it and what it is. And so there is no, as we know, there's no sort of governing body like OF&G or the Soil Association telling us what we can and can't do. We do what we do because it's the right thing. We know in our conscience, in our heart of hearts, we know what's right and what's wrong. And listening to others, and I just read a lot. I listen a lot. This is one of the very few times I'm actually the one doing the talking, but most of the time I'm sitting there listening, and there is a massive amount of content out there, and it's all relevant. Well, pretty much everything we do, we start out in the first year with a control and an experiment, and we see how it measures up to what we're doing already. And then if it beats the control, if the experiment beats the control, then we go with it 100% the following year. So that would be the first thing I would suggest, is just always have a backstop of the good old ways, just in case the new way isn't for you. And not all of these techniques are for everyone. You know, I know that there are various organizations out there that people grow for, and they started out life with a very specific prescription as to how they wanted their crops grown, and it became very clear after a very short period of time that that specific prescription was not possible on a lot of their growers' farms, and so they had to become a bit more fluid with their prescriptions. So not everything will work for everyone. You just got to find what works for you, and you'll only find that out by having experiments. The only thing I would say is that, you know, you've got to move. You've got to move out of the you know, agriculture. UK agriculture is in a big change at the moment, and whereas our grandparents would go to the pub and discuss how good their yields are, we need to get out of that thought mindset, and we need to be going to the pub and boasting about what our net margins are, how big our net margins are, and you know, whilst we may not be yielding anything like the numbers that this farm yielded back in the day, if we were farming in the same way, our net margin would be way down on what they are now. And don't be afraid to try stuff. You know, as I said at the start, there are no real experts. We're all really feeling our way, and just have confidence in yourself. And there are a lot of snake oil salesmen out there as well, trying to hitch their cart to this wagon, and you need to be able to identify who they are too. And just go with your conscience. You know, we've all got one. Just some are a little deeper buried than others, but just go with what your heart tells you. It's normally right.